Hi, I'm Louise and I'm the owner of Eat Crawlers, an edible bug business based in New Zealand. You might be wondering, why on earth would you ever eat an insect on purpose? This was me a few years ago, and then I tried some yummy cricket corn chips, which were super filling, and I decided to look into the whole entomophagy thing a bit more, which is just a fancy word for eating insects. In 2020, I was looking to buy another business, and one thing that's very important to me is that it's sustainable. I'm very passionate that businesses focus on their triple bottom line, which is that we look after people, profit, and the planet. All of the businesses which I'm involved with are members of 1% for the Planet, where we commit to giving 1% of our annual turnover to approved non-profit environmental partners through a variety of support. I came across Eat Crawlers, which was started in 2013 by Matt and Dan, two young guys who were travelling through Asia and decided to bring the world of edible insects back with them to New Zealand. We are the oldest insect business in New Zealand and have one of the largest ranges in the world. This is a photo of me and my daughter Roxy at the Auckland Food Show in 2020. It was a bit touch and go as to if the show was even going to happen with all the lockdowns. Did you know that over 2 billion people around the world eat insects as part of their diet? That's a quarter of the world's population. There are over 1,900 different types of edible insects, and they all have unique flavours. I'm going to go through a list of insects that we stock and what we think they taste like. I think our crickets and cricket flower tastes a bit nutty. Our locusts also have a nutty, shrimp-like flavour. Some people call them sky prawns. Our scorpions are pretty salty and also have a seafood, fishy taste. They look a bit like a shrimp too. Our black ants have a tangy, lemon peppery flavour. They taste nothing like the ants you find in your kitchen, which if you've ever eaten one by mistake, you'll no doubt agree are rather yuck. Chefs use our black ants as garnish, and we have a local restaurant dip their cocktail glasses in them for an extra zing. Mealworms have quite a mild, nutty, umami flavour, but are quite bland, so they're good to toss into a dish to give some extra crunch. Maybe next time you can swap them out with the croutons in your salad. Grasshoppers have quite a strong smell and a peanut sardine flavour and are commonly used in Mexican dishes. In Mexico, they're called chapulines. And finally, our tarantulas are like hairy crabs, but with an earthy, almost muddy taste. If you want to try a few different bugs, we have small boxes of lightly salted or garlic and herb insect mixtures, or a 100-gram bulk box. These contain a mixture of crickets, grasshoppers, and mealworms. So why should you eat insects? Or as I like to say, don't judge it till you crunch it. First up, they're really high in protein. Crickets contain 68% protein, where beef is only 24%. Crickets are also a complete protein, which means that they contain all 9 amino acids. They also have more calcium than milk, more iron than kale, more fibre than beans, and more omega-3 than fish. They also contain zinc, magnesium, copper, vitamin B, potassium, and folate. One study found that they contained 180% more iron than beef. You can see here that crickets have the highest protein content at 68%, followed by scorpions at 53%, grasshoppers at 48%, locusts are 47%, mealworms are 45%, black ants have 37%, and tarantulas are the only ones lower than beef at 19%. In some parts of the world, it takes 21,000 litres of water to produce 1 kilogram of protein from beef. Our rate in New Zealand, as our cows are grass-fed, is probably closer to 10,000 litres, but that's still like flushing a toilet 1,700 times. Crickets only use 1 litre of water to produce 1 kilogram of protein, which is the size of a bottle of juice in my fridge. What about food? You have to feed a cow 10 kilograms of food to produce 1 kilogram of protein. Crickets are little protein factories, and they can turn 1.7 kilograms of food into 1 kilogram of protein. The global population in 2020 was 7.7 billion people, and 1 in 10 people went to bed hungry. By 2050, the world's population is expected to reach 9.7 billion people. There is not enough land in the world for us to feed so many people using the current farming methods for cows and sheep. We need to look at alternative protein options, and insects are a great place to start. They use less water, less food, and much less space. Crickets can be farmed vertically. You can see these crates are piled up high in warehouses, and some high-tech factories have robots driving up and down the aisles feeding them food and water throughout the night, as they're nocturnal. Crickets also produce 80% less methane than cows. I mean, I've never heard a cricket fart, but it's got to be less than a cow, or even my dog. Now, if you still think that insects are yuck and you can't get your head around eating them, the best place to start is like I did, with cricket flour mixed into something you eat all the time. My son has no idea that the pancakes that I make him for breakfast have crickets in them. When you use cricket flour, you just take your regular recipe and swap out 10% of the flour for cricket flour. You won't be able to taste the difference, but you'll give your meal a nice protein boost. You may have heard that crickets are a gateway bug. We also make cricket pasta, which tastes like regular whole wheat pasta, but you don't need to add meat to your dish to get the protein hit. Reducing your red meat intake and replacing it with a more sustainable option like insect or plant protein is a smart way to help the environment. A word of warning though, if you're allergic to shellfish or dust mites, you might need to give insects a miss too. As I mentioned earlier, we have a huge range of insects for you to try. Some of them are covered in chocolate, which makes them taste a bit like Cocoa Pops, while others are roasted in the oven with flavours like honey roasted crickets, barbecue grasshoppers, or teriyaki mealworms. Then we have plain ones like scorpions, locusts, ants, and even tarantulas. Speaking of tarantulas, in a poor village in Cambodia, they couldn't work out why most of the population was hungry and in poor health, but that the teenage boys were pretty healthy. They discovered that when the parents were going out to the cities to find work, they were heading into the fields to hunt tarantulas. The spiders live in holes in the ground, which are covered in a thin layer of spider webs. The teenagers would poke a hole with the sticks until the spiders came out, then pick them up by their backs and remove their fangs. After that, they would take them home and deep fry them. They are high in protein, folic acid, and zinc, and are often served up, rolled in sugar or garlic as a delicacy. Now, you don't want to be hunting insects in the wild in New Zealand, as you don't know if they've come into contact with any pesticides, which might make you sick. Our insects are farmed in Thailand and China, specifically for human consumption, and on sustainable and ethical farms, which all run the HACCP programs, which stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. We can't import any bugs that haven't passed this test. We're often asked about spider and scorpion venom. In spiders, the fangs, which can be up to 2 centimeters long, are removed before they're sent to us. In some parts of the world, these fangs are used as toothpicks. For scorpions, the stinger and venom glands are found in the tip of the tail, and these are removed with a pair of scissors before they get to us. When crickets are farmed commercially, they often live in these egg box type structures, which they love because they can hide away in the dark. Our insects are humanely killed by using their natural ability to go into stasis when you lower the room temperature. Because they're cold-blooded, we can take them into stasis, and when they're inactive, we quickly freeze them to kill them before they are dried, roasted, or ground into powder. Insects are fed a mixture of oats, grains, and seeds. Did you know that crickets were named after the sound that they make? They make their chirping sounds by rubbing their wings together. Most female crickets don't sing. It's usually the males that sing out in love or anger, and they have a whole repertoire of songs to attract a mate. Crickets also listen with their legs. Their ears sit just below their knees. You might wonder if vegan and vegetarians eat insects. The answer depends on why they decided to follow their particular diet in the first place. If they're doing it for environmental purposes, then they may well decide to try insects to boost their nutrients. Edible insect businesses are growing all over the world. You can see new businesses popping up on programs like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, where insects are being used in anything from protein bars to dog biscuits. Anytime you can reduce the amount of animal protein like beef, lamb and chicken and replace it with insects is going to make a huge difference to the environment. While a lot of our bugs are sold more as novelty gift items, and I'm pretty sure the people who are buying our tarantulas are doing so more because they're after some fear factor thrill rather than for their taste, we are noticing an increase in people cooking with our bugs. So next time you're making burritos, sprinkle a few grasshoppers in before you roll them up like they do in Mexico, and enjoy the new flavors and textures. Check out our website www.eatcrawlers.co.nz or follow our Instagram or Facebook to see what we do with the bugs. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at hello@eatcrawlers.co.nz.